Right, I think we are live. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Marketing Rules Live with me, James Whitelock, and the rest of the Thinking Circles team. Say hi, Thinking Circles team. There it is. There they all are.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for the English accent again there, Taylor. Thank you. Welcome back if you're kind of joining us for the kind of, again, if you're here for the first time, welcome along. It's a pretty informal process. What we're going to do is we just kind of pick a topic that is relevant to businesses within and around recruitment and recruitment agencies, recruitment tech, recruitment suppliers, and we discuss them for the next half an hour, pooling the shared knowledge from across the Thinking Circles marketing team. Today, we're going to be talking about how to prove ROI, specifically within your kind of, if you're a recruitment tech business, really. But a lot of these things apply to most of the businesses that you might be working with and to recruitment agencies. ROI is one of those things that gets kind of chucked around a lot of the time. Return on investment stands for, but actually, what does it mean practically and how can you measure it? All these kind of things we're going to be discussing today. So for the next half hour, we're going to kind of jump straight into this. So first question I've got for the team is, what does ROI truly mean when applied for recruitment tech businesses? I'll have a go at this first, and then we can kind of hand over. So understanding what actual kind of ROI means is really important. So what is it that you are trying to do and trying to get? What does that process and that kind of that message look like? So if you are a recruitment tech business and you're looking to kind of measure ROI, what are you trying to measure? Right? What is it that's going to make the difference between a sale and not a sale, or the tech that you're putting in place, or the people you've got involved, et cetera, right? So those are the things that are kind of really going to be important. We'll dive more into those as we kind of get into this. But anyone else kind of want to jump in and say, what does ROI truly mean when we're talking about kind of recruitment tech businesses?
I think sorry, I'll jump in a little bit.
Yeah, go on, Chris.
It's always not like a monetary value, right? I guess as a business, that's what makes the world go round. That's what keeps the lights on as well. But I think it's not just looking at your ROI in terms of at the end of the year, okay, we've made this much money, we've made this much profit, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's kind of like long-term stuff as well, isn't it, right? You're looking at how your customers are kind of feeling with you, their experience with you as well, and looking at things like that. So I think, yeah, it's about, what kind of return on your investment is in terms of money, but also what else are you bringing to the table and what your customers are feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a kind of like what added value, right? How much is that? And again, that's one of those slightly more kind of intangible things to try and kind of, it's quite difficult to calculate. Yeah, if you're a recruit, if anything that you kind of do or buy into your business, whether you're in a recruitment agency buying tech or whether you're a recruitment tech business, right? Either side have got to understand what that ROI means. And yeah, there is a monetary value. There's a cost value, right? There's a cost of supplying that tech, and there's a cost of buying that tech in the first place, right? And there is the measurement of, am I getting that money back? Am I getting more than that money back? I was quite kind of fond of not, because return on investment feels like you're just making your money back. There should be a profit on investment, really, right? That's what you really want to kind of make. But understanding also, and part of that profit, I guess, is some of those intangible things that you just said, Chris, right? It's what's the other added value? As an example, with Thinking Circles, we're always the end of a phone to pick up and talk about whatever else might be kind of needed to be done within that business, any kind of advice that we can give, all those kinds of bits of added value are always kind of that slightly intangible stuff that you're not necessarily paying for, but there is actually a value kind of associated with that. Anyone else want to have a crack at this before we move on to the next question?
I think Chris is right. It's not just about the monetary reward. It's about what the tech can do for the businesses, for the recruiters. Can it make them operate faster? Can they get better quality candidates? Can they make better decisions about how they run the business? So it's all these non-monetary based things which add up to the bigger whole, as it were. It's about changing the behavior of the people within the business. It has to be, a good return on investment is if people adapt to it quickly and use the software and make the most of it. So those are good indicators of whether they're getting a return on investment, not just money.
Yeah, there's the kind of, is it being used? Is it being used effectively? Is there a retention? Are they advocates? I mean, all these kinds of things can add into return on investment. And measuring that is the difficult part, and we'll come on to how do we kind of measure effectively. Anyone else want to jump in with some advice on what it truly means, ROI? No. I'll move on, shall I, to the next? I'll move on to the next question. How can businesses define ROI beyond cost savings? So we've done a few of those kind of. We've talked a little bit around that, but there must be other things that it's not just about the money. We've already mentioned that. There's some of the intangible stuff. But what is that intangible stuff? What could that technically be?
Possibly connections and things like that as well. And you are investing in businesses and you are building relationships with certain people. I know as a RecTech, if you're a RecTech business and you are looking for customers who are going to be working with you, what else can they kind of bring to the table as well? And what else can you kind of provide for them? I think a lot of businesses start, and then if you speak to business owners 5, 10, 15 years down the line, what they currently have afterwards as well is probably not what they started with. So potentially, you build those connections, you hear what's going on in the markets and things like that. Your tech is going to change and adapt and things like that. So I think for me as well, it's not just, you're just looking at your return on investment and that's it. It's like transactional. Maybe that's what you want to do. Great. But also, how is your kind of tech going to grow and adapt and change over time? So yeah, having that and networking and building relationships and connections, things like that, I think is also something that you need to look at that's not monetary value.
Yeah. I know from if I'm taking thinking circles as an example, right? People, a lot of our clients are happy to use us simply because we've also got a network, we've got an understanding of the space that we work in. We're pretty well networked. We know a lot of the other kind of people that they might be interested in talking to as well. You're not paying us for that, right? You pay Thinking Circles to do your marketing for you, right? Strategically, delivery, all the other kind of cool bits that come part of that. But there's another layer on that, right? One is things like this webinar, right? It's a bit of added value. Admittedly, it's out there for everybody, but it's relevant to our client base. There's times when they just pick up, they call us on WhatsApp or have those kinds of discussions. All those kind of things that I think kind of help you kind of define, that can kind of be part of what your ROI might actually be kind of able to be calculated as. So it's not just that kind of cost. I think if you get to a point where it's overly transactional, then it becomes overly transactional, and you're just seen as you're just seen as something that is just a cost base, and you can kind of either turn it on and turn it off. If there's something else that makes your product, your business, almost, invaluable, as I always talk to you guys about, this, make yourself invaluable, then there's the return on that investment for your user base is exponential, because they know they can't do without it, simply because it's a good piece of tech, but also there's this other kind of all this other rounded stuff that goes around it. Anyone else want to jump in? Kat, I see you nodding, Wayne.
Yeah, no, I was just sort of carrying on from what you were saying. I think it's that additional, what is the benefit that the tech provides excuse me, to the end user, to the end recruitment business? What is that? You talk about added value. I think RecTech businesses often get caught in the trap of saying this is what the tech does, and sort of bamboozling people a bit with big words and complicated language because they think it sounds impressive. But I think kind of it's that simple translation of the benefit of the system, rather than focusing on cost savings or the price of it or the functionality of it. It's a bit more that sort of higher sell of the benefit to you is this, and I think that's a big part of it, because I think that's where a lot of RecTech businesses can stumble when they're trying to grow their businesses. It's just thinking a bit bigger beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's kind of necessarily completely based on return on investment, but a lot of businesses, you as you said, what's the problem you're solving? And actually, if the problem you've solved for your users, that has then saved them money or speeded up a process, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's the return on investment, right? There it is, right there. Not just the fact that you are cheaper maybe than someone else. There is these other things that you want to be selling on, and that's how you're proving your return on investment, which I think is kind of actually probably a better way to go about it. And actually, when you're going around, when you're talking about the problem you solved, actually how much they spend is, well, in the eyes of the users, well, we want to spend a lot because we really want to speed that thing up, right? And so that you can marry that up to how much you end up eventually charging. So the next question in is what metrics matter most when trying to measure ROI. So we've kind of covered some of these, right? We've talked about the things you could measure, but what actually does really measure? What are the metrics that kind of measure? Now, for me, I know I literally have just said it's not all about cost, but obviously that has to be somewhere near the top, right? How much are you spending? Are you spending, I don't know, maybe, if it's a piece of tech that's costing £50 per user per month, right? Is that user more efficient? Are they faster at doing what they're meant to be doing? Do they no longer need to do that thing because it's all being done by a piece of AI kit or something now? Those are the kind of things, right? Those are kind of what you want to measure, and that's what you want to measure as a user, right, of the RecTech. There's obviously we'll talk about what the recruitment tech business is, kind of how they go about it first, but let's do it from the kind of user's perspective first. How do you kind of manage and monitor and measure the return on investment if you're a user of a piece of tech first? So let's assume we're a recruitment agency using a piece of tech. What do we need to understand if we're getting value from that? Fiona?
I'll kick off this one. I just feel like it's very, very individual to the business. So you could look at really practical productivity metrics. So jobs handled, revenue per recruiter, or commercial metrics. It's just what adds value. And when I say value, what delivers for the business. So metrics, I mean, I could wax lyrical about the cost of a PPC or all that, Google Analytics and paid advertising and things like that. But if that doesn't add value, then it's not relevant for that particular business. So I think it's very individual per business.
That's interesting, right? I guess if I was a recruitment tech business and I was selling into these users, you'd want to have a standard set of return on investments that that you can prove. Whereas with your kind of definition, if you as a buyer of recruitment tech, it could be a little bit different depending on your type of business, which in turn makes it very difficult for a supplier of recruitment tech to decide on what return on investment looks like for their users. Chris, you gonna?
Kat, do you want to go first?
Sorry, Kat, go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna sort of follow on from what Fiona was saying, that I think it depends what the business is trying to achieve with the technology and what it's there to support the business with. It's totally going to define what your ROI obviously looks like, and that may differ based on your own objectives. It may differ on the size of the organization, because obviously smaller businesses may look for kind of ROI that's different from a bigger business, etc., etc. So I think it's going to be really really dependent on the business, really kind of individual, which it does make it hard to then create like that standardized template of this is the ROI and what it looks like. But I do think it's dependent on those business objectives, the objectives of the technology, and making sure it's there to support with an actual problem rather than just we bought it because it looks nice.
Yeah. It's the latest shiny thing, basically.
Yes, and we've got all this tech stack, but we don't use any of it.
And that happens so often, right? We see that all the time, don't we? That one of our clients is like, "Oh, I've seen this on the market. I think we should go with this." And you got to say, "Okay, slow down, take a step back. Why? Like, what is that problem going to fill? What's the cost of it? Why are you doing it? And I think, yeah, if there's no problem that needs solving, then, you know, right now there's not that much, there's no reason for you to need to do it. I guess it's good kind of as a recruiter, coming from like a recruitment point of view, you need to know what's on the market. You need to know, because you don't know what you don't know, right? In terms of new RecTech and things like that. And there's so much out there that people don't realize what they can use, what they can make more efficient within their business, because there's technology for every stage of the recruitment process now, isn't there? From sourcing to parsing your CV online and coming up with new kind of templates and all that kind of stuff. There's loads of things. And yeah, agree with you, Kat. I think just because you can doesn't mean that you should. But yeah, getting back to kind of ROI as well, I think we see a lot of businesses now as well that doesn't necessarily come from business point of view. Obviously, you've got to be making money and things for your business to grow. But also, there's a lot of businesses nowadays that kind of want to give back as well. So their return on investment isn't just seeing what money's coming through the door, but what are they also doing for recruitment companies or, you know, the world in general? You know, what are they kind of doing? As a RecTech business, you might be asking people to move things more online. You might have a piece of tech that kind of eliminates paper or something within the recruitment process or something like that. So your ROI, yes, it might sound a bit strange, isn't looking at how much money we're making, how much profit we're making, but it might also be like, what are we doing to reduce the amount of paper being used within a business or things like that. So, you know, people are more, are kind of more planet friendly, which it should be, right? And there's other things like that people need to kind of think about.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, you just stole my answer.
Sorry.
You can repeat it anyway, Taylor. Go on, tell us. Go on, talk to us, Taylor. Go on.
No, so I also just wanted to add in that yes, like exactly like what Chris said, that a lot of businesses, like with returning on investment, they see it like they want profit, they want their money back, they want to see that what they're putting out, they're actually receiving something back. And then obviously with what Chris said, I also agree that there are businesses out there. I mean, yes, they want the money, but they also want to have like a positive influence. They want to see that what they're putting out there is actually making a difference. It could be like how Chris said with like eco-friendly. It could be that they're oh, now I've gone blank because Chris literally said word for word.
It's okay. We totally understand. We totally got it. Yeah. If you're just joining us, this is the Marketing Rules Live. We're here with the rest of the Thinking Circles team discussing how do you prove ROI, whether you're a recruitment tech business and whether you're a user of those kinds of tools as well. What does ROI look like? And I guess the interesting thing is if you are in recruitment tech, understanding what ROI is for the companies and the users and the people that you're trying to target is really, really important. It's not just around kind of the cost, it's understanding how they perceive return on investment on your tool. So if you're a recruitment tech business, understanding that and having those kind of conversations can be key to what we're going to talk about next, is like how much does the role of kind of like user adoption play in measuring these results, around integration and things like that, things that we don't necessarily, which are really important to recruitment tech businesses. They always want more bums on seats, right? And they want to be integrated with as much as possible. You know, does that play a role in the return on investment as a user of this tech? Chris, I can see you nodding away.
Yeah, so yeah, that's something I come across quite a lot, is user adoption. And you know, getting people who are, I want to say stuck in their ways, but they're not. They're happy with how things are going and they're happy with the process that they have, and then management come in and say, you know, we're using this new RecTech, and it kind of, it's a bit scary for some people, right? And I think adoption is a massive thing that RecTech companies really need to think about. And because I think that's probably one of the main things that makes users reject after 6, 12 months, whatever it is, some piece of software, some tech that they're using, right, is that it's not being adopted by the entire team. Maybe they're not enjoying using it. And I think that really comes down to like training, doesn't it? So as a RecTech business, what are you doing and what are you offering your customers in terms of training and check-ins and things like that afterwards? Are you onboarding and then stopping? Like, how are you bringing out new pieces of your software? How are you kind of providing that training? Are you just putting a webinar on your website and asking people to go and have a look at it? Or are you kind of sitting people down and say, let's get all your team on a call, make it more interactive, and do that kind of training like that? So I think going forward, that should be something that probably RecTech businesses need to look at, right? What kind of training they're doing and how are they creating those champions within a business? Is it up to the business, or is it up to the RecTech business to, help with that?
It's an interesting one, because I bet you a lot of those businesses think and probably have tried to place themselves in a position where they don't need to give huge amounts of training, because the tool is so simple to use and to roll out that it should be bordering on idiot proof to roll out. But if a business hasn't used something like that kind of tool before, and you're literally buying it off the shelf, you're paying whatever it is, 50 quid per user or something. I agree. There needs to be something to increase adoption needs to be there, because that's, in the end, you're trying to sell seats, right? That's what you're trying to do. So anything that can increase that adoption, whether that is kind of an onboarding program, ongoing training, that kind of stuff, is only going to support other users within to say, look, you need to be using this as well, right? It's easy to use, and I'm making money from it. If you're a recruiter, that's usually how that conversation goes. I can see a few other people nodding away. Who wants to? Fiona.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say there is absolutely a difference between ambition and implementation. So it's just with regards to Chris's point, like there's such a difference between what management buys and purchases and what ends up being. And I've worked for enough businesses to know that recruiters start with the best of intentions, but sometimes it's just what's the easiest, most frictionless way to get their job done. And sometimes it is an Excel spreadsheet. So it's about that ambition and that they understand the benefits of it. And it's always about that proof. What's in it for me? I mean, I don't mean to bring it down to brass tacks, but it is one of those things that if you can prove the value of a tool, then recruiters will at 100% use it, and people will implement it. But it's if you're not managing that implementation, then it's just an idea.
Yeah. Kat.
I think just following on from that, I think the challenge with user adoption a lot of the time is making sure that it's not only kind of onboarding people correctly, but actually that what it's doing, that the process people are having to go through and using that tech is making their life easier.
Yeah.
Because recruiters are busy, they've got a lot of stuff to be doing. Getting them to adopt new technology is not going to work unless it's solving a problem for them or simplifying an existing process. So it has to work unless you're going through a major process change in terms of the company and how it's working with stuff. It's got to kind of sit alongside existing processes. The other thing that I think Fiona alluded to is, or Chris, I can't remember, is I know I've worked with a couple of RecTech businesses, and we've had conversations around, well, we've built this, but actually what we found is people are using it like this. Yeah. And it's that, okay, well, the importance of using that feedback of, is that all people need? Because you've got this thing over here, or where's the fall down between that's what you've built and that's what the system can do, but actually on the ground, and the reality is this is how people are using it. So there's something not quite kind of marrying up there as well. So
and again, all of that that will affect adoption, which will affect return on investment, because it doesn't. It's all a kind of it's all a cycle.
It's all influenced,
exactly. Okay, so last question. This is all a fun one. What is the biggest mistakes companies make, RecTech or their users, when trying to calculate return on investment? So we've talked around a few of them. I think one of the ones is biggest mistake is not calculating anything at all. is probably number one. Is not actually measuring anything, so you haven't got any idea what adoption's like, what any of these iterations are like, whether you're actually, whether this is making people more efficient, faster, or just removing a process from them. Those kind of things, measure it in the first place is understanding. Taylor, you put your hand up. You didn't need to put your hand up.
Before someone steals my answer, so I made notes for this one. So I believe, obviously, not tracking your data at all would be the biggest mistake. But I feel that focusing on surface level metrics without tracking conversions or revenue, and not aligning your marketing data with CRM or sales performance, because those two obviously go hand in hand. You're putting, money into your marketing, and if you're not seeing that return within sales, it's not working. So not comparing the two would just be quite silly. And then obviously treating RIO as a quarterly report instead of an ongoing process. And then obviously sometimes there becomes like a little standstill in marketing. So for example, we all had a nice little festive break and marketing slows down a bit there. And I feel like it breaks the data consistency and that damages the long-term insights. And I feel that there are certain CRM systems out there that you could use to make sure that you don't make that mistake, where you can, track it all the time.
Sure. Thank you. I hope everyone's got some answers after that, because Taylor covered quite a lot.
Everything.
There. Yeah. Okay. Kat.
Yeah, I told everyone to do answers.
Well, I hope I can answer something different now.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, it's a bit like when we talk about things like social media and sort of focusing too much on like vanity metrics. It's kind of the same with RecTech, is that, okay, seats are important and user adoption is important, but you've got to look more beyond just like, well, this many people have logged in and this many people have set something up or done. It's what's the actual end result? Has it saved anyone time? Has it improved client or candidate service levels? Has it reduced time to fill roles? Has it, improved the journey that people have been on? It's reduced the call time that people have had to make because this admin process has been taken. What's the actual impact?
Yeah.
Versus just, so it's focusing on the right metrics rather than just ROI metrics, is what I was trying to say. Yeah,
no. You're right. Basically, everything we're talking about, it comes down. It's more than just cost, right? I think that's the thing. You're right. It's more than just the cost of the to buy that product or to sell that product. There's all these other stuff that need to be taken into account. Chris, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was going to say something, but I don't know if it really ties in with this question or not. It's not necessarily like a mistake that people make when they're doing ROI, but it's something that I see in a lot of businesses. I bet we can all attest to it, especially in the marketing, is that retention is so much easier than finding new business. One thing, it kind of goes back to ROI, I guess, in terms of how long do you keep a business on for and things like that. Is it, it's generating more business as you go. But one thing I always think around is that businesses don't kind of put as much time and effort into keeping a client as they do to bringing on new clients. And for me, I think that's something that businesses probably have a mistake around in terms of they don't focus that much or as much as they should do on retention. Because, some of your businesses are bringing on, you want them there for 10 years. You want that continuous stream of revenue, right? If they were to drop off, you have to kind of bring on those next and new clients. So for me, yeah, it's not really answering the question that we're talking about right now. But retention is just so much better than bringing on constant new clients. But
it makes sense. But it makes sense from a if you're a recruitment tech businesses, and you're finding it hard to bring on new users, then concentrate on the users you've got and upselling them, and that affects return on investment at that point for you and your client, and your client as well. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you very much. We're coming up to our half-hour mark. If you've kind of been watching today, thank you very much. You can also kind of catch up on some of our other channels where this will be kind of repeated. This is the Marketing Rules Live with me, James Watlock, and the rest of the Think in Circles team. We'll be back next month with another topic feel free to let us know if there's anything you want to discuss or any questions you want answered, because we will we can always devote an episode to those as well. So, but for now, thank you very much, and thank you very much, team.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.